Alright, let's add something to the G.I. Joe shelf. Destro. So today I plan to figure out just what it is about Destro that makes two YouTube channels I follow so interested in Destro. I follow Destro's Desk, as well as Destro is my spirit animal. Both of these channels I follow because they're G.I. Joe content, and they know much, much more about G.I. Joe than I do, and they have a hard focus on G.I. Joe, and I tend to enjoy some of what they talk about because I don't know these topics. As I said before, my G.I. Joe life has basically been that my buddy, he wasn't my buddy across the street. I had a friend that lived right next to me. That's where his grandmother lived, and I would go, like, he was like the yard that was connected to mine. He was my neighbor. So I would go over there, and this is primarily what he played with, G.I. Joes. He had like jets and like tanks, and he would go in the back and he would like dig holes and like make trenches and whatnot for his guys. And I went over there and I started kind of getting into playing with him, and I got interested in G.I. Joes. Never to the point where he was like watching the show. I never did that. I just like to play war or men or guys or Joes or whatever you want to call it. And so we would go over there. We would meet up at about 9 a.m. This was a regular thing on Saturdays. Which kind of got interrupted in a way because after a while Spider-Man, the animated series, was on 9. So I wouldn't get out there till about 10. Look, I had to watch Spider-Man, okay? I loved that show when I was growing up. So for me, that show would come on at 9 o'clock. Now, it used to be at a regular thing. We'd get up, we'd eat breakfast, we'd do our things that we had to do, and we'd go out and we'd meet around 9 or 10 a.m. And then we would basically dump out the tote of all the Joes and guys and random stuff and pick people. And it was weird because he knew all the storylines to these guys, but like didn't follow a lot of them. And I knew none of them, so I didn't follow any of them. I would go to the store and see a G.I. Joe, and I would pick it up off the shelf. Oh, this guy's cool. Then I would look at him, and I'd like make up my own story, and that's what that guy was. Then I'd go over there, and we'd play guys. This guy was a soldier, infantry, yada yada, whatever. This guy was an explosives expert. This guy was a diver, or yada yada. You know, just whatever. I'm like, this guy is like a modern day ninja that, you know, whatever. Because like, I love Snake Eyes and whatnot. And so the way that this went with me continued my whole life. I never really got into G.I. Joe until the Classified series hit. Then it became less about just like kind of seeing some cool guys that I could play with in the backyard to, wow, these are good. Like, they're so well done. I love the fact that they can hold all of their weapons. I love the fact that their faces, and I know I've heard some people complain, oh, the faces aren't right, yada yada. Well, after watching these two guys talk about some of the classic figures, their faces were never great to begin with. They got better as time went. Yes, Joes are just like any other toy that have got better as time went, but I did really enjoy seeing them talk about like some classic guys and how they all just kind of shared like three or four different face molds that none of them were necessarily great. I've enjoyed some of their content, and both these guys are about Destro. I mean, their name is right there. So, when I was at a Walmart, I passed by another set of these retro card backs, which some of these retro card backs I like, some of them I don't. Case in point, I bought the Baroness, and I liked her a lot. I bought Lady J and thought she was better in the normal Classified. I think and I'm really fighting with myself here, I think that this Destro, as compared to the other Destro that I saw, I think I'll like him more. But I'm fighting with myself about Gung Ho. Do I want him in the retro card back? He's still affordable in the classified. Which one do I like more? I don't have a nostalgia tied to this, so I'm not like, oh, those are his original colors. To me, that doesn't necessarily matter. So I'm not sure which direction I'm leaning. I don't know. I'm really fighting with myself about that. He may look more believable in the classified, but he really stands out in this blue, so I don't know. I really don't. G.I. Joe has been an interesting thing for me. I love the classified line. I just think it's so well done. From the fact that I can look at their faces and every face feels unique, and I can look right at them and be like, you could cast this person right now. This is like a real person somewhere. Like I swear I've seen this guy's face before. It's that kind of good. They're completely believable. That shocks me. At the same time, I love that they can carry all their own weapons. At the same time, I love the color details, the paint op and everything that they're doing on these guys. The detail, like the fact that they have maintained the price point that they have maintained in this line is just phenomenal. I am truly impressed by the classified line, and it has been my gateway into a more serious enjoyment of G.I. Joe. So when I walked by this guy, and I thought of the two YouTube channels that I was currently watching, I said, I mean, I've got to, right? Let's check him out. Okay, so we don't have to spend way too much time on the box. It is a retro card back. It is very good. I have argued many times that the retro card backs are fantastic for inbox collectors. Like, they hang on the wall very easily. They've got the tab and whatnot, depending on if you want to set up just hanging them on your wall or setting up a toy store-esque display. These are very much a standard of the industry that we've seen for many, many years. And it also hits a balance where you don't have too much plastic. You don't have all those little ties that are in there if you're an opener. This is just fantastic. It is always really good. On the back, we have a nod to the original kind of packaging where you have the thing right here, the little, they used to come with like these files, I remember, and then they would kind of give you an idea of what the character was or whatever. On the cross-sell, Baroness, I got her. Lady J, I got her. Destro, I got him. Gung Ho, as we've already talked about, I don't have him. That's all I really have to say about the packaging. Let's open them up. So, right off the bat, boy do I miss this. It used to be, for a long time when I was growing up, you would buy a figure and get a stand. And what's crazy about it is this idea, and I'm not retro blasting, I'm not going to tell you that all toys are sold to adults. I think that we hold a bigger part of the market than we've ever held before. But it is interesting to me that even when we were kids, most of our action figures were sold with stands. I remember Joe's would come with stands. Like, why? Was it because they already knew from the very beginning, just like Hot Wheels tends to sell to kids and adults, that adults were going to display figures standing up? Is that it? Did they know from the beginning that they'd hit something with G.I. Joe? That we were going to see adult collectors? Did they know that people from the 70s coming into the 90s to buy these figures would want to display them? I'm really legit curious about what it was that had them pack in a stand. Because later on, a lot of stands went away on some figures that really desperately need stands. Like, excuse me, Marvel Legends, stands. Even if it's this simple, it's just a decent piece of plastic. It's heavy enough that it's going down, and you put your people on it. Stands, especially your female characters, Marvel Legends, they need them. They need stands. I mean, we could just buy our own stands. I know, just buy your own stands. I do sometimes. I spend the $24 to get like the 60-pack or whatever of stands. But the point is, why don't they come with stands? I remember the Justice League of America figures all came with stands. Some of the early 90 figures that I bought all came with stands. Stands used to be not that uncommon. And to see them in the retro card backs, I love these. And so I'll follow this up with a second question. Why are stands not included in the classified figures? Why? Anyway, just wanted to ask. That's really all it was. It's just, I seen the stand and I love the fact that he comes with a stand. Even though these figures are solid, they can stand without stands? Whatever. So, he comes with a briefcase. Does it open? Because it feels like it should open. Does it open? I'm fighting. It has a little thing here. So I'm almost positive that it opens. It doesn't. It feels weird though, like maybe it wants to fight me on opening. Oh, there it is. I think I got it. Okay. Oh, cool. It's got like money, and it's no wait, is that? Yeah, I think that's supposed to be like money, and then right here it's got like a keyboard thing. Little cobra symbol. It's got this MARS. I'm not sure what that stands for because I'm not super into G.I. Joe, but that's cool. That's awesome. So he's carrying around this thing and he opens it up and then he's got like stuff and he could type and this is kind of neat. This is neat. It gives him a reason to have like this briefcase thing. I actually like this. This is really solid. This is cool in its own right that he just has this little thing. It comes with a gun, a handgun, which is fine for what it is. And just like all the other Joes that I've been very impressed with, there, he actually has a spot for it. I love that. I love that these figures can carry all their tools because I grew up in a time when that wasn't a thing. G.I. Joes would sometimes come with 3 or 4 like different accessories and you couldn't carry all of them. And it was really irritating. I didn't like that. It used to drive me crazy. And then he has the gun that he can hold. So then he's literally got all of his stuff. I actually think this is really cool. He does have the little slot here for if he was wearing a backpack, which I've said that before in some of my Joe's reviews. Sometimes it feels like if they don't come with a backpack, they're missing something. Like, right? Because like the backpacks were such a thing in these figures that it makes me sometimes feel like if they don't have the backpack, they're missing something. He has this other gun right here. It's a very like sci-fi-esque gun. I don't know crap about guns, so maybe it's real, but it feels sci-fi to me. And so let's look him over. He has his popped collar, so he's super cool. It goes down, shows off part of his chest. I like that this chain here. Oh my! I just lost a lot of focus. I like that the chain here is loose. It's an actual piece. I think that's really cool. I like his metal head. He's got decent enough movement. He can't really look up because the collar gets in his way, and he can't really look down too much. They tried to compensate. He's got like a neck joint thing inside, but for the most part, he doesn't move around too much like that. He's got all the kind of movement that we would expect. He can go all the way up to kick his own butt. Oh my. The boots move and everything like that. This is pretty standard fare for this kind of figure. Speaking of which, he's got a butt. He's got a butt. It's not a fantastic booty or nothing like that, but he's got a butt. That's good. That's ridiculously good. I think it's funny when it goes back all the way like that. And of course, the shoulders and everything and the elbow. His arm, he's pretty strong. It gets in his own way, but it's fine. All of it's fine. This is I don't see any problem with his movement at all. This guy's pretty cool. He's got these missiles here on his wrist, which are pretty neat. That's cool. So you imagine he like turns his hand. Now, I have questions about him, like honest questions, like just having the figure, right? Is that a mask or is it his face Is he somewhat cybernetic? Are these his hands? Are they robotic gauntlets? Or did he lose both of his hands? And he has robotic appendages, like Snake in Metal Gear Solid 5. You know what I'm talking about? Like, is that what I'm seeing here? Because that would be cool if he lost both his hands and then he has like robotic appendages. That would be really unique. It'd be really cool. Let's see, what else am I going on here? Because I've seen him where like this mouth moves, so it doesn't seem like it's a mask. It seems like it's part of his face. And I saw the G.I. Joe movie where they tried to explain it through like some sort of nanotech or whatever that like, but I don't know the actual, and I know people, they get all up in arms about like the movies and whatnot. I didn't mind the G.I. Joe movie, but I don't have an attachment to it like some other people. To me, it felt like a G.I. Joe movie. Like maybe a kid that had an adventure playing with toys. That's what it felt like, and I was completely fine with the movie in general, actually. It did not bother me. Or very, very little of it bothered me. Let's see, I'd kind of like his gun in this hand. I like this. I like that his wrist. I like that a lot. I think this should be common for the wrists to move this way. I really do. In a lot of figures, I think that's important now. I like it more than when they move in and out like that. So that's pretty cool. Maybe I'll put the case in his hand just because, like, I want him to have all of his stuff. I know that he's got the missiles in his hand there, but hey, whatever. Because he got two trigger finger hands, he can hold the guns with either hand. But we're going to put the case in one of his hands, so he's holding his case. And if he has to put the case down for whatever reason, he'll get to his other gun, or he'll shoot you with missiles or whatever, and that's pretty cool too. Let me readjust the camera here, and let's for what it's worth, put him on his stand because he came with a stand because it makes sense because it's awesome. Oh my! Come on, get on there. Oh, there's some real resistance there, but that's good because it means the pegs are going to stick. Once they get in there, they're really going to stay. Oh! Whew! Okay, let's kind of move the belt over to the side a little bit. It is a separate piece. And there we go. He's got the case. Turn your bicep a little bit here. And he's got the gun. And I don't need any kind of super action pose with this guy. He looks cool just standing there. He really does. I wonder if I'll put a gun up like this or something like that. Maybe I'll even turn him a little bit so he's kind of holding his case and he's got his gun here. And he's got his big, giant 80s popped collar. And that'll be him on the shelf for right now. I think that's fine. I think he's cool. I do. I think he's cool. Not a bad addition to the Joes. I don't have too many more to add to the shelf right now. I think I have Spirit waiting in the background somewhere. And I have a wish list of Joes. Like, I want Duke. I want the classic Jungle. I want a Gung Ho. I love Beachhead. I wish Cobra Eel 2 would come out. The one that was yellow and blue and had like the spikes and had the robot shark. That figure was my most played with G.I. Joe. I don't know why. He had like the red visor. I only had one of them. And when I got him, I didn't even know what his name was. When I picked him up, I remember I picked him up, and a buddy of mine, when we were picking guys or whatever, because that's the way we do it. We'd dump out the tray or whatever, and be like, pick. We'd make like a, we'd make units or whatever, and then I'd go off to one side of the yard, he'd go off to the other side of the yard. Sometimes we'd have like 4 people playing with us or whatever, and then we have like war, play war. And we all had like our own stories about things. And I remember when I picked him, I was like, oh, this dude's cool. And my buddy, who knew nothing about G.I. Joe, but he sure sounded like he did, and I honestly knew nothing about G.I. Joe, he said, yeah, that guy's name is Tiger Shark. And I said, is it really? That's cool. That's a cool name. What's that about? And he said, well, and then this guy just made up this ridiculous story He said, well, he's got like tiger DNA, so he's faster and stronger than normal humans. And he can breathe underwater because they actually gave him gills like a shark, and he has this robot shark that he has that's like a backpack and everything. And like he just made up this big whirlwind of BS. And I remember being like, oh, that's cool. And I went with that story for years. For years, I never bothered to double check him or anything like that or see if he actually knew what he was talking about. I was just like, I mean, he likes G.I. Joe. He knows. That's definitely what he is. And so I played with that figure for a long time. And I ended up owning that one. I traded one of my toys, I can't even remember what it was, for that toy, and then ended up owning him. And he was like my most played with G.I. Joe ever. I mean, I had him all the time. I wish I still had that G.I. Joe. That's one toy that I honestly wish I still had. I don't to this day know what happened to him, but he's gone. And I wish he wasn't. I wish I still had that figure. I've considered multiple times. I almost bought him off eBay one time just because I want him. And every time I go to a con, every time I go to one of these cons that has like a bunch of toys and whatnot, I look for him. And I've never come across him. I want to say he's actually Cobra Eel Variant 2 or like whatever. I think that's what he is. And I saw that they released a Cobra Eel, if I'm not mistaken, in Classified. And so now I'm just waiting. I'm just waiting because Classified is knocking them out. And every time they come out better than I remember. That's the Joe I most want. I do have a wish list of G.I. Joes, even though I'm not super into it. And that's one I really can't wait for. It's like my most looked forward to G.I. Joe ever. And maybe Dice, because I had that ninja when I was growing up. He's another one that would interest me in terms of owning again. But yeah, I just added Destro to the shelf. I don't think he's my coolest G.I. Joe on the shelf, but I do think he's cool. I'm going to get out of here.
I have spoken. Take what you will from it.